I think they're finally used to it in our place.
Wolverine cosplay. I'm Batman.
Thank you very much. Scared the crap out of me.
Hut in this area here, none of this existed. And it was a lot wilder back then. When we set it up, we dressed it. It was a hot day, it was about mid-morning. And we see this couple coming up from below with a couple of kids. And he walks up and he stops and he goes, "Oh my God, honey, look, it's a black hut here in British Columbia." And he looks at me and goes, "What's it there for?" I said, "It's for Highlander." "Highlander? You mean the film?" I said, "Yeah, the series." "Well, I work for the city of Edinburgh, and can I look at it?" I said, "What do you do?" He goes, "Oh, I'm a curator of their museum." And he walks in, looks at it, he goes, It's better than ours."
Oh, wow.
and he says, "Can we take some pictures?" I said, "Yeah, sure." So he's taking pictures of it. And he goes, "Who did this?" I said, "We did." "Oh, be damned. All the way we come to British Columbia, nobody would find a black hut here." So that was basically what happened with that. It was a funny little moment.
So was it just the one hut and the rest of it was like CGI'd in, or did you guys build like the whole little village?
In this one we had only one, and because it was a very tight shot. And there are other scenes that happened around it. Now, the village that we built was out in a park quite some distance from here.
Okay.
And there we built like 3 or 4 of these little black huts. And that was, we had Highland cattle, and we had sheep, and a couple of pigs, which were a mess, and chickens that were getting away. And always shooting the exterior stuff was tough, really hard.
Was all this back here?
Exist.
Well, none of this was here.
Okay. That probably made life a little easier.
Yeah, none of this was here. There was the main building down there was in a different iteration, and this one didn't exist. And this was basically what we did here in this area. And the black hut was right here.
Cool.
He died right here. This is where Duncan croaked for the first time. Yeah. Right here in the little hut.
Tis the work of the demon master of the world below.
All right. Question?
Shannon, you okay?
I think she's a little cold.
Oh.
No, I didn't know we were hiking, and I didn't bring my knee brace.
Oh.
You need,
It's back at the car, so.
You want us to carry you?
Wes can do it.
Yep, I can do it.
Okay, well.
But she'll be okay. She can put it on when we get back to the car for the next spot.
Well, and then if you want to go up a little bit further, there's the next scene.
So today we are out with Steve Geaghan. He is the production designer, is that correct?
Right, for the
Yeah,
first 4
his official title.
seasons, the Vancouver segments of those seasons. He did not travel to France when they went.
Mm-hmm. But he is responsible for the antique shop, the loft,
The dojo,
Joe's bar.
Well, he supervised Richard Cook when they did the Dragon Head Katana for Tachi in the first season. And they used it mostly through, I guess about 2/3 of the way through second season as well, before Marto redesigned it. And then he designed the Watcher logo.
Basically everything that we love about the series.
Exactly. I was going to say that, but...
While the camera was not running,
Yeah.
I basically just asked him what he did, and he said he is responsible for everything that goes in front of the camera that's not an actor.
Yeah, he designs the look of the show.
Which
like
is
I said.
huge.
Yeah. the Highlander font. Just
Yeah.
all over the place, of course. Careful, I'll fall.
I mean, basically everything we love about the show, this man did.
We're not
So-
going to go up the trail very far, or maybe really at all. Just maybe just kind of get up here and take a look at it.
We are in for an absolute treat. He's spending most of the day with us today, so. And we're gonna get to go over to his house later. Probably not gonna film a lot of the house for obvious reasons, but he does have lots of props that I'm looking forward to seeing. So, should be a pretty exciting day.
We could probably stand up here.
This is it right here, isn't it?
Well, this trail up this way. We're not going to go up there because it's just too much. Especially for chain link. Yeah.
Everybody else is already starting to get tired.
Yeah.
But Andy's in the Navy, and I trained my butt off, so we're gonna we're gonna be waiting for everybody else for a little bit, I think.
Not for too long. We're not going to go any much further than this, I guess. There's no real need.
But yeah, the camera is like right here on this shot, isn't it? When
It was somewhere.
Duncan's dad and the two
there.
other guys on horseback come out here.
Trail, maybe?
That one.
Yeah, that one.
Yeah.
Yeah, that,
Right there.
because in the shot you can see the pole, not the poles, what do you call those? Ski lifts. That's what I mean to say.
This was in the days before we could CG
The stuff out of
the
it.
stuff out of it. Yeah.
Yeah, Duncan comes out of those trees right there, doesn't he?
Probably.
Yeah. When he says that the horse recognizes him, but not
Not his own
flesh and blood. Yeah.
And his dad says, "You'll not beguile me thus."
Yeah, this is a pretty cool area.
Oh, it's beautiful up here.
Now you can take a trail. If you follow.
Jeez, I mean, look at this. Look at the hillside here. Sorry, didn't mean to
No,
interrupt.
it's okay. If you follow this all the way up, there's a trail that leads across the Howe Sound crest, and you can take it up to Whistler. I've done half of it, but not that's a long time ago.
Yeah, that would be a heck of a hike going all the way to the top.
Yeah, and then it's up and down across the mountain tops. Oh. I was in better shape 20 years ago.
Weren't we all?
Yeah, I was going to say, weren't we all?
20 years ago, I had 6% body fat and an 8-pack.
Wow. Pretty amazing.
This is one of three major hills here that are local. They drive outside of Vancouver.
What's this place used for now? Is it a ski resort or?
It's just a ski. It's a municipal ski lift, bus van, and anybody can come here. And there's Grouse Mountain and Seymour, and all of them are functional in the winter.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I mean, this is the sort of place where you can, at certain times of the year, like April, May, when some of the lifts are still open, you can ski in the morning and go down onto the beach and have a barbecue on the beach
Interesting.
and be warm. So it's a strange place in its own environment.
Just one of the many perks of living in Vancouver, British Columbia.
Come on up.
What other questions you guys have?
When did it typically start snowing on you guys? What time of year?
November. Yeah, November. It starts to get serious. A couple flurries in October, maybe at the upper elevations. And we got snow last winter, and it was all through, down where we are. So we're right on the water. So, but mostly it rains, and it just starts in late September, early October, and it doesn't stop until June. And sometimes
Sounds like Oregon.
yeah, there's no difference. It's the same climate.
Well, since you're not going to be with us tomorrow on Mount Seymour where this story happened, would you tell the story about how the snow was melting and you had to get the props still from
Oh,
when you shot Band of Brothers?
yeah, Band of Brothers. That was an interesting one, where we did a Napoleonic battle.
Oh yes, I've heard this one.
And
Yeah.
it was in the winter, so we went in and we dressed it the day before we get there, and it's snowing. And it's not snowing a little; it's a full flurries and in a snowstorm. And we had to dig out all the props and all the banners and everything, and all the actors. We had to put pads down for all the dead actors and the extras, and we shot it. And it was very effective in the snow. It really worked out well. And we get phone calls. We cleaned up as best we could. The following spring, we were getting phone calls from the mountain. Hey guys, can you come up? We discovered some more banners and a cannon. Damn, now that's where that one went. The Napoleonic 12-pounder. And then we go up, we pick it up, and then we'd find more costuming. And God, yeah, it was
Jeez.
The dead horse. And
oh yeah, we imported dead horses, and we found a piece of a horse that we had lost.
They were actually dead horses?
no,
Oh yeah,
it
we
was
brought we brought them in
props.
from Alberta,
Yeah.
and they're props, and you take them and you blow them up.
Oh, okay.
They're filled with tires, and they blow them up, and they lie there.
Yeah, I hear the extras on that day were like freezing to death because they just had to lie there dead
Yeah,
in the snow.
It was awful. It was really terrible. Yeah, it was an interesting experience to do that. And I was up there to set up, and I was there for a couple of hours. And I had to go back, and then I came up again, and with more props and more stuff. So on that show, as designer, it was only myself and an art director. We did all of Highlander, and Richard Cook was my art director for all the seasons all the way through. And he is a brilliant designer in his own right. He's a theatrical scenic designer from South Africa, and he's long retired now. But I would do all the hard technical drawings and some of the illustrations, and Richard would do all what he called the foo-foo stuff. And he'd do all the graphics and all the other stuff that was required. And that's the way we sort of divided up the show. And we actually did that show. I came in at about 7 o'clock in the morning. He would roll in about 8, and the deal was that he could do an entire day's work in like 8 hours or 10 hours, and he did, and I'd pay him for 12. That's sort of, not many
Wow.
people know that. And he was a tremendously proficient artist and art director. Just once he got down there, he would just do it and didn't want to be disturbed. And the props master, Don Buchanan, would come in and, oh, Richard, can you do this for me? Not now, Don. And he's like that. Oh, Richard, it's just a little thing. I can't do it, but you have to do it. Very well, Don. And he would do it. Oh, thank you, Richard. And off he'd go. And Don Buchanan is now long retired, and he lives in Mexico. And it got so insistent with Don always in Richard's office that what we did was we put a yellow stripe on the floor, and it was called the Don Buchanan line of And Don would come up to it, he would put his toes on the line and go, "Excuse me, Richard." And Richard would look up saying, "Has he crossed the line yet?" No, he hasn't. "Richard, please, just one little thing. Bring it here." "Do I have permission?" "Yes, you have permission." They would come in and give it, and Richard would do it. It was just that it wasn't anything bad, but it got to be a joke between these two guys. And they were buddies, outside of that show. And there was a lot of characters in the series, a lot of in the crew behind the scenes. And the swords would always break. And Don was responsible for the swords. And we ended up using aircraft aluminum, which was very light and very strong, but they were very expensive, and we couldn't use the Marto stuff because it was just deadly.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, Adrian it's not talked about, but and even as orchestrated as the fights were, Adrian was always cut up. He always had nicks and scratches on his hands, and it was interesting for him. And
How many swords did you have on standby?
there were always a dozen.
A dozen of each kind?
Yeah, always. We had
Wow.
a tremendous amount of swords on that show.
That's a lot of swords breaking.
Yeah, we did. And in fact, in my house, in the guest bath, there's a piece of the original katana, which broken off. I just have it there as a reminder of how many of these we broke before they changed the resins. And they got the resin composition right, so they were a little stronger.
Wow.
So that's basically what happened.
Yeah, I've got a aluminum one in the car, actually, that we've been lugging around for pictures that's come out pretty nice. It was made by, I'm totally blanking on his name. I'm tired.
Was that Mark?
Mark made the handle. Stephen Dunford made the blade. I guess he makes the aluminum blades for Anthony DeLongis. So they're like super duper strong and flexible, and they look really good on camera.
Right.
The only thing I don't like about it is it's actually got a pointy tip, which I'm not real big on because I mean
that'll
somebody
smash you.
somebody could get poked by that. I have another one that was made from the ground up by Mark Bittner, and it's got all rounded edges on it. And I actually used that in my Highlander fan film that I made, and it held up great.
Yeah.
I guess I'm lucky it didn't break. after hearing that story.
If you look real closely at the original at the series in season 1, it was decided that we wouldn't use katanas, they used tashis. So if you know the difference between the two blades, which I'm sure you guys do, you can see it. And even though they're calling it a katana, it's a tashi. It's the more curved, slightly longer.
Yeah, not a whole lot of people are going to notice that.
No, only the aficionados of Highlander.
People who get 30 years to nitpick every single little detail of the show. Andy?
I see the show from a completely different perspective than the fans, because I'll be honest, I've seen every episode a couple of times, but I don't have when I'm reading the script, I'm solving the problems of the script, whether it's locations, and environment, and then you go down to the props of, oh, we need a new sword. Don, come here. We need a Toledo Salamanca broadsword for this guy. Gotcha. All right. I'll do that. And off Don would go, and in with 3 would come. The other aspect of all this, which isn't mentioned too much, is Bob Anderson.
We talk about him a lot.
And we talked about him a lot. He was a remarkable, original, one-only kind of guy. And I first met him in season 1, and he goes, "Oh, Stephen, tell me, is the Kurgan coming back?" I said, "I don't think so." "Oh, I liked that character." And he was a real gentleman and a gentle soul. He's a lovely guy. And I came to him one day, and I said, I just saw on the weekend, I saw this great film, had the best sword fight in it I have ever seen. He said, "Oh, what is it?" I said, "It's called The Princess Bride." And he went, "Oh, I did that." And it was like, I'm left-handed.
Yeah,
And,
I've heard many, many stories from like everybody that was involved in that thing, and
yeah,
pretty awesome.
and leaping on rocks. And the thing about Bob was when we worked with him on Highlander, he was in his mid-80s, and he could still out-fence anybody. So
It's the beautiful thing about swordplay.
Yeah, when Braun came on the following year, because Bob had some personal issues back in England, he knew he had some really big shoes to fill. And Braun worked really hard and really filled that gap. So hats off to F.
Yeah, we get to meet him tomorrow. I'm pretty excited about that.
Yeah, F is interesting. Yeah, F is interesting. He's all martial arts with edged
Yep.
weapons. Yeah,
Sword choreography is an art.
yeah.
I love it.
Did you ever watch Highlander Endgame, the 4th Highlander movie?
Yeah.
One of the immortals in there, Cracker
Yeah.
Bob, played by Ian Paul Cassidy, he calls F hard drive because of his extensive knowledge.
Yeah.
That's kind of a
Yeah.
funny nickname.
Yeah, F has, he's very, very knowledgeable about this stuff. And he comes at his job with that level of knowledge and dedication. So this is, and Highlander was a big deal. And other than Braun's hip, which is giving him some issues, he's still in tremendous physical shape. I'm able to do this job. So
Is he still working?
until I think he's doing some consultation, but he's got to get this hip taken care of.
Mm-hmm.
He needs a new ball joint in there.
Yeah.
And,
When we went and saw Anthony DeLongis back in, what was that, honey, 2022? Early 2022, I think is when we saw him. He had just had a hip replacement, and he was getting around with the cane and stuff, but we still did 7 hours of whip work that day. I mean, that guy is dedicated.
yeah, there's the aficionados of this. They say, Steve, when are you going to retire? I was like, retire? I'll literally wake up dead on my drafting board, and I'm not going to retire.
When you watch shows and movies and stuff that you've worked on, and you see all the incredible things you've done in the background of like every scene, how does that make you feel? Or do you just kind of be like, oh, that was a good show? And
it shifts. If you take one show in particular, like Outer Limits, I was on that for 6 years and 122 episodes. That was a 6-year fugue of pain, and each show has its difficulties. Highlander was actually more fun than I've had in a long time. That was a great series to do that way, because we had our limitations. In fact, it was budgetarily, tight, but even with that, we got a chance to. We had a great deal of leeway in how we all worked. In other words, the writers, David Abramowitz and David Tynan, and I walked in one day and I said, I did this timeline, guys, of where Duncan was here and here and here and here. And forgive me that I'm segueing into this, but it's actually more important than what I feel. And it was basically a timeline of where Duncan was over the years. And I said, there's this period here between 1720 and 1754 where he's nowhere. And I said, we can do India. You can? I said, yeah. I said, we can do temples, we can do everything. I said, we can do environments. I said, why not do something about Kali, the Kali cult? And they had a little conference, and they come back, and lo and behold, they have to get an outline. Can you do this? I said, yeah, we can build this. And it was a very successful episode visually, because we used all sorts of elements, like the Orpheum Theater, which was done in that marvelous Indian Baroque quality, and the GVRD, the regional district out there, the watershed. And that was fun. And you get a great deal of satisfaction. It's not the satisfaction that you get in theater when the curtain goes up and you look at and the lights go up and the audience goes, when they see the set. There's not that satisfaction of saying, I did that. This is a different kind of subtle thing saying, yep, okay, mission accomplished, moving on. And you have to let it go. Because when they tear the sets down, the art is gone.
We went there the other day and we're just like, how heartbreaking can that be when you're spending millions of dollars and tons of man hours to create something absolutely incredible, and then somebody just comes in there and wipes it out like it was never there.
Yeah, and this was
it was tough seeing that.
You get to give it up in television and feature film. They give you a lot of money to spend, and then you spend it, you look at it, and then it's recorded on film, and that's your side of the art. It's done.
Yeah.
What we do isn't actually the art. The art is in the final product, and that's the way I look at it. If it's on the film, it would be terrible if the film goes away and the sets go away, and it's like, oh, there's no record of it. So you essentially, as designed for the entertainment industry, you're doing it for posterity. You're doing it something artful and artistic, and it is only left on celluloid or in digital. And there's your satisfaction.
Yeah. I think I can speak for all of us here. I mean, I was a little late to the party. I actually saw Endgame first. I got it out of a bargain bin for $5. I'm like, I'll check this out. And then I just fell in love with the the character and the way it was shot and everything. And then I went back and watched the series.
Yeah.
Season 1 had just come out on DVD. You could only get it through the Highlander catalog at that time. And I was like, oh, I'm so getting this. And it was weird because he had long hair, and I wasn't really used to that, and now my hair is long.
Oh, yeah.
But there was something magical about season 1. Like when you walk into the antique store for the first time, or when you go to the dojo, or when you go to Joe's bar, it says so much about the characters without them even being there.
Well,
And you added that to the show, and I just feel that that's really incredible that you were able to create character development just by the stuff that you pulled out of your head. I think that's really cool.
It's sort of one of the baselines of design, is that your job is to provide an environment where at a glance, without a word ever being said, the audience knows who or what inhabits it.
Yeah.
That's the bottom line.
Yeah.
And if you can do that, well,
not all
you've
shows
done.
have that,
No.
especially at the degree that Highlander did.
No, nobody said no to me, ever. Not Bill, not Ken Gord, none of the other producers. It was, can you do it? Yeah. And there was the joy of walking in every day and getting a new outline, saying, you got to do this. Richard, come here, take a look at this. And then we would sit down, we'd talk with the producers about it. I remember one case in point was in, I can't remember the name of the episode now. This is the one with the medieval monastery.
Oh, Song of the Executioner.
Song of the Executioner, sorry. And I read the script and phone rings. Steve, it's Bill Panzer for you. Hi, Bill. Can you build us a monastery? I said, yep, we can build a monastery. And he goes, how much will it cost? I said, I'll get back to you on that. And I did. And it was like $33,000 or something, which is nothing these days. And he goes, will it wow the French? I said, it'll knock their socks off. and he goes, send me some plans. I said, okay. So I designed it. And what we needed to do with that was it had to be a machine to shoot the show. So all the hallways turned around and became rooms. All the walls pulled away. And you could do this over a lunch hour. So we could turn the chapel into a scriptorium by taking out a couple of walls. We could install the end wall, and it would be a kind of a small sort of rose
Just
window.
by building something on both sides of the wall, right?
Yes.
And then
And
flipping it around.
Putting in doors and putting in interstitial walls between the side walls and the columns, and that made a corridor when we needed it. So it was this that gave us the scope, and the stage wasn't that big. The stage was really it was only like 40 feet wide by 60 feet long.
That's tiny.
And it was tiny.
Wow.
It was a little tiny stage that we had for this. And that was how we did that show. It was all done with ingenuity. And it was never that we didn't have enough money in the context of that ingenuity. We always did. But it wasn't an excessive amount of money. We had enough to do the show well within the confines of what we're told to do.
How long had you been doing this sort of thing before you got the call to be on Highlander?
Well, I started my career in 1969 at Lakewood Theatre in Maine. So 69, 79,
Almost 25 years.
yeah, 89. Yeah, I'd been a designer for a long, long time.
What kind of stuff did you do before? I'm sorry, I don't know a whole lot about you, but
Oh, well, you can take a look at my website.
okay.
Stephen-Geaghan-designer.com. And it's all there.
Okay.
Entire
I'll
history.
check that out.
What did I do before that? I did about a decade as a theatrical scenic designer in Maine and Ottawa and Toronto and in Vancouver. I was a staff designer at the CBC, Canadian Broadcasting Corporation, for about 6 or 7 years. And then I segued from there into film for television and feature film. And I've been doing that ever since. And it's, got a feel for, I guess, science fiction. And I sort of got slotted into science fiction and did a tremendous amount of that in my career. Like show after show after show. Big series, national series. So, it's been a good, it's a great way to waste a life.
I don't think you're wasting it.
That's been great fun.
Just makes me wish that I'd do more with my life. I mean, I try, but it's hard sometimes when you're juggling so much different things. Yeah.
Well, you make your choices, and you just have to. I focused on it. Everything I did was in every move I made was in direct response to what I wanted to do. Like when I came to Canada, it was to work at the National Arts Centre because I got an invite, and that's what brought me here. And I kept meeting Canadian women, and the rest is history. I stayed.
Well, Canada's a pretty awesome place. Everybody here is so nice.
It's
I mean,
it has all the rights and privileges that the United States used to have. And I say that guardedly, but it has its issues, but from my point of view, it's a gentler society.
yeah.
It's just a gentler society, and I'm more comfortable here. I lived in LA for years, and you didn't want to walk around in West Hollywood after 10 o'clock at night, unless you had several.
Yeah, Shannon's got agoraphobia and doesn't function very well in society most of the time. And when she comes up to Canada, it just kind of goes away.
Well,
because she doesn't have to worry about negative responses.
No, it's very rare here, very rare.
It's a beautiful place to live, for show.
Shall we get Shannon back and get her knee brace on?
She's probably tired of sitting on a rock, so.
Yeah.
Need some help.
All right, off to the next place. Thank you for that.
Okay.
All right, so for those who saw my previous video from our last visit, you know exactly where we are. This is the docks where Duncan and Axel had their showdown in Rite of Passage. And we're gonna head out there. Obviously in the episode, Axel's boat was tied up out there, and it ain't there, but everything else is pretty much exactly as it was on filming day. And now we've got Steve Geaghan with us, which is also really awesome. Is that supposed to be happening?
That boat is with rocks?
Yeah. I think maybe that boat was tied up at the dock and they didn't do a good job of tying it up and it's come loose.
Uh-huh. Oh man,
That's not good.
they're gonna be in a world of hurt.
Oh, and incidentally, Michelle's house from that same episode is right here. And Andy and Steve seem to think that they can pull some strings and get us in there. So we'll see how that goes later today. But yeah, that boat right there, just like it looks like it's, oh, somebody's on it. Okay, well that's a good thing. Hopefully he can get it out of there. Not generally one for graffiti, but this is frickin' hilarious. Somebody wrote Connor for president on the side of that box. That's awesome. Alright, so here we are out on the docks. For those of you that have seen my last video, you already know what's coming. Duncan walks down here, has his confrontation with Michelle. Michelle decides she's had enough of Axel and goes with Duncan. Axel tries to jump on him and says, "You cheated again, Axel," and then the fight is on. And the fight goes through here on this bridge, pretty much right there, and then this way, up the railing to right here. Oh, okay. I'm busy filming here.
So if you want to pan down this area here, the set all the water work came in 1 or 2 days before at low tide, and we had the special effects team lay in the water cannons, the explosions, and this is pretty much what it
Yeah, Duncan has the quickening right there, doesn't he? Yeah, right there.
And I believe we did that at low tide, and then this whole area around here was set up with the waterworks.
I would imagine that the quickenings would probably be the most expensive part of every episode. Would that be correct? For the most part?
That's a really good question.
Just because there's so much prep time and all that, and then you got to make sure that everything, you know, blows up the way it's supposed to, and all that jazz.
It was an expense. Certainly, it was expensive for special effects. There's a lot of post that happened with the lightning effects, and that was all laid in by Don Vanessa and his guys. And that was where a lot of the post-production money went, was into that visual effect. And that was as far as we could go back in those days. That was a visual effect, a major effect was the lightning. It was drawn in very carefully, one frame at a time.
Oh, jeez Louise.
And that was the way it was done. Because, you know, we didn't have sequential effects. We didn't have machinery, just didn't exist in those days to do it. So we did some matte shots, some glass shots that I would paint Richard Cook, my art director, did.
But basically like cartoon animation, more or less.
Well, no, what we did was we wanted to extend something. We had a glass plate in front of the camera, the same thing that was done back in the 1920s, 30s, 40s, 50s. And we had some little scale trees that we would put on it so that it would blur out. And that's how we extended some of the scenes, like one character jumping off a cliff. And we had to do some repair on that. That was a partial glass shot. And realized that this was before any visual effects actually really existed. This was a long time ago. It doesn't feel it from my perspective, but I look at the progression of the art form, and it's really progressive.
Yeah. Well, I mean, part of the problem with today's movies is that's all you get. Is just, you know, it's like one big special effect, and kind of the story and character development kind of gets lost in there most of the time.
So the most expensive aspect of production, other than just the sheer weight of the crew, was probably the special effects of the show, and the sets, the construction, the set construction.
So, you guys basically, like before you filmed the sword fight or anything, you came in here like 24 hours before and just set up this whole thing, and then filmed it all in succession?
Yep. So once we set up the location, unless there were real extraneous circumstances like actor availability or something like that, we would set it up, we would arrive on the day, and we would shoot it. Snow, rain, wind, made no difference. And you know, I spent days of my life, weeks, months of my life in the rain doing shows here. And wet and cold all the time. So just get used to it.
So if it's nice and sunny like it was yesterday, and you come out here and it's rainy and cold and nasty like it is today, and you need your two main actors to go jump in the water, then
they do it.
They do it.
The interesting thing about Adrian, and virtually all the other actors, is dedicated to the job and dedicated to the show. Adrian would virtually do anything if it was required in the script. And he was just a really terrific lead actor to work with. He set the tone for the show, and pretty much everybody followed it. He had a lot on his shoulders.
Yeah, I remember during that fight, right here, while they're stepping from this plank to this plank, there's a thrust. I think Axel throws the thrust, and it comes like that far from Adrian's face. I'm like, oh my god! Like you're like that far from like skewing him right in the face. It's like that would have ruined the whole day.
Yeah, that would ruin the whole day. 'Cause, you know, that face is his fortune.
Yeah, I mean they didn't do thrusts very often, and to the face especially was like really.
Yeah.
that fight really gets me because of that one shot right there. It's like, oh my God, that is so dangerous. It sure looked good. That was an amazing fight.
As I said earlier, Adrian got barked up a lot over the years for the show. He really had the shit kicked out of him. And he would come back every day and do it again. He never missed a day. That's off. He was a total pro.
Screenshots. Yeah, just the quick shot. Yeah, and I mean those logs are pretty much still there. Right there.
Oh yeah. Yeah. The logs may be different.
Mm-hmm.
So they fall over on this
Yep.
side into the thing.
Yeah, this place pretty much looks exactly the way it did years ago, which is pretty awesome. For those watching this, I apologize for the wind. It's a little rainy in Brooks out today. How many days of shooting took place on this dock? Did you get the whole thing in one day? One day. That's pretty amazing. So we're talking from the minute Duncan walks down there, the dialogue with Axel over there, the conversation with Michelle right here on this dock, the whole fight, the throwing over the rail over there, and the quickening over there, all in one day, one shooting day.
Dialogue up on the house.
Let me do the house. That's all in one day. Remember, these are full 12-hour shooting days.
That's a lot of work.
Generally 6 pages a day. Feature film
Wow.
will do 1/2 of one.
My biggest shooting day was 8 hours, and we were trying to do one fight sequence for an Indiana Jones movie that I made, and it took place at a castle, and there was a shootout and a fist fight and some whip work. It took us 3 8-hour days to film it.
Yeah,
I mean, this is more complex than that, and you guys did it in one.
Yeah.
That is very, very impressive. All right, well, we're going to take some photos and get out of here. Are we going to go all the way up there?
Yeah.
Heck yeah! Okay, so we climbed the stairs over there, and that's where the tea room would have been. And we came right up here, around the corner. We got this area out here in the middle, which is also really cool. Steve says you can actually get to that at low tide. But if you look right here, this is undoubtedly the fight scene, right in this area. Wish it wasn't raining quite so much. But yeah, this is a really cool spot. Shan and I actually tried to find this spot the last time we were out here, but we didn't know quite where it was, and of course, Andy does. And I think right where that person's standing is where Cantos is when Duncan sees him for the first time, up there at the top. Cool stuff.